Coogs House. Everyone is talking about how many Houston Cougars in the transfer portal, and the joke may feel tired, but it's time to investigate. Does Houston have a problem?
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I know I've said it 3 days in a row, but I like the new intro a lot, Brian. Thanks again. Welcome to Locked On Cougs, daily podcast about your Houston Cougars, and I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach, Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater who came to step by, thank you for making Locked On Cougs your first listen of the day. If you want to join in the conversation but don't know what to say, tell us this is a hot button topic and teacher or coach at school today. Do you think of math as a discovery or as an invention? Think about it. Answer down below. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, and more on that in a second. But we have all kinds of news to get into, some exciting positive news. We're going to talk about the Forever Coogs and the TBT, the basketball tournament this summer. Good news for some Houston Cougar alumni. I want to talk about that. I'm excited about that thing, frankly. Excited about that. In the second segment, I'll talk about transfer portal pickups and try and flip the script here and make the transfer portal a positive thing, because I think it's worth investigating the positive side of this. But first and foremost, we do need to talk about, I think, the thing that everyone's talking about with Houston right now, and that is how many Houston Cougars are in the transfer portal. Now, I do have to point out that I think officially there are 14 people in the transfer portal, as in like they filed the paperwork and are in and that kind of stuff. By my count, based on like social media announcements and things like that, my list is up to 20 people from the Houston Cougar football program have put their name in the transfer portal. Roster sitting in the spring game looked at like a little over 100. That's roughly a fifth of the names. I want to go through the names really quickly in last name alphabetical order to make sure we're all on the same page as who we're talking about quickly. Hakeem Ajijalaya, Sam Brown, Brandon Campbell, Josh Cobbs, Lucas Coley, Logan Compton, Joseph Donato, Jacob Garza, Caleb Harrison-Pilot, Brian Henry, Carson Herman, Keelan Jimenez, Carson Jones, CJ Nelson, Michael Patterson, Traylon Payne, Tevin Shaw, Aubrey Smith, Jalen Stanford, Justice Ugo. Now, I do feel like on that list, as I go through it, there are some real talented football players. I don't have to tell you how talented Sam Brown, Hakeem Ajijalaya, how talented they are, or the promise that Mikael Harrison-Pilot had, or frankly, like how young some of these guys are. Traylon Payne had a big pick to seal like an early win for Houston this year. I think that the talent in this list is something that's very visible, and I don't think you need me to explain how each of these kids is a talented loss. I've done some of that like one by one last couple of days, and honestly, the list exploded to the point where one by one feels really, really challenging. And I'll leave that hanging out there at that. I think a lot of people are worried. I'm seeing comments on my own videos about people saying, well, does this imply that, Coach Fritz has lost the locker room already, or is there's a connection issue with players, or da. Okay. I said back when they made the coaching change, I anticipated a lot of people transferring out at that time back in December. I think it's fairly obvious that while some people did, notably like Matthew Golden's now at UT Austin or whatever, right? While some people transferred then, right? These guys are all choosing to transfer now after having seen what spring practice and the spring game looks like. I would also point out that it's possible that the program can be headed in the right direction and these guys just don't fit in the program in the way that they thought they did, right? Whether they're a pass blocking offensive lineman and we're going to be run blocking more next year, whether they're a 4-3 defensive end and we're running a 3-4 next season, right? There are different ways that schematically they just don't maybe fit the scheme for the incoming staff the best. And I think that they're saying like, oh, after seeing the spring game play out, I kind of don't like where my role is headed. Like, I don't like the way this room is cramped or that room is cramped or whatever. For instance, there was a Sam Brown tweet, and I tried to jokingly reply to it, and I wasn't very funny. So sorry, Sam, if this ever gets back to you. I'm frequently not very funny. But I do think that Sam brought up a point that I think a lot of fans have, right? This The comment was like, how do you come into a crib and restructure the best room, right? Like implying you come into a house like the Houston football program and try to rebuild the wide receiver room to be something different than what it is. And I hear that. I get that. I don't know if that's shots at Barbe, offensive coordinator, or Fritz, the head coach, or new receivers, coaches, or whatever. But I do think we've known basically since Fritz's name got floated into this that this was going to be a run heavy team at some point in the future. And it sounds like whether it's because Parker Jenkins is currently on the roster, Pancake Demetrius Hunter is at center. We got running quarterbacks in both Donovan Smith and Zion Chris that run very differently, but maybe we're going to get, Donovan back to that Texas Tech runner that he was once upon a time. Whatever the case may be, it sounds like this team's going to be a little bit more run heavy next season, and they're expediting the process and moving to less receivers on the field. So you're seeing some talented receivers say, well, I have options here and I can get out of here, right? The other thing I'll say, as far as like people worried about Fritz and the staff and connections, is that is totally natural. That is a totally normal thing you see happen all the time. And frankly, if these 20 student athletes had all put their names in the transfer portal back in December, January, we would have just assumed, okay, they were Holgorsen folks and now they're leaving because Fritz is coming in. I don't know why there's the gigantic change in that perception, given they wanted to wait it out and see for a couple months. I think we can both applaud them for waiting out and seeing what it looked like, and then also be like, okay, this is totally normal and natural. As you see coaches change over, the kids are going to change over as well. I've said it several times this week because the transfer portal thing's been the hot button with it opening up this week, but recruiting experts are estimating thousands of kids in the portal between the December January window and this one put together. Like I'm talking like multiple thousands, right? This is just the way the football game's going to go these days. And as far as the Fritz connecting with kids thing, I get that there's a fear with coaches sometimes. It just feels ageist in this sense. We forget that, we seem to quickly forget that he came into a program where the recruiting was, ashes, right? Just nothing left. Only had 8 2024 high school kids committed. He, in just a matter of a couple weeks, flipped that to 16 by signing day. He pulled in 18 transfer kids in that window alone. He kind of like juiced up, put some gasoline in this program just as recently as a couple months ago. I don't know why there's this gigantic disconnect, like why we have this short-term memory. Like, I don't know what the deal there is, why we're making these leaps and bounds assumptions when we were calling this strength of his just in January, right? We don't have this doesn't feel like enough evidence to counterbalance any of the positive things we were saying about the direction of the program then. I admit it's hard to see talented Houston Cougars go, and there's several of them that are leaving, right? Maybe it's a little bit easier for me than someone else who's more negative because I'm not wishing any of them ill wherever they go. Obviously, if they play Houston, I'd like to beat them. But like if Sam Brown were to go to, I don't know, insert, other Power 5 school, best of luck to you, Sam. I'm good. Go do your thing. Go pro later. Like, go do it. Akeem Ajijalaya, as long as it's not against Houston, go get 2 sacks a game. Go do it, right? I'm not anti any of this happening for these guys, even if it does kind of suck to watch them walk out the door, because I feel fairly confident in the direction of the program. I think that Fritz continues to demonstrate that he's the right guy to lead this thing. And I don't really know why there's this panic feel every time another name gets thrown into this, right? This is college football in 2024. This is college football with a coaching change. This feels more normal than the panic on social media, sports talk radio, message boards. I know none of that's ever very rational, but it feels particularly crazy and chaotic right now. So crazy and chaotic that in the second segment, I do want to flip the script a little bit and talk about the positives, who could be coming into Houston in the transfer portal. But first, I'm a competitive guy. I want to beat these guys if they go somewhere else that is not Houston. And I'm so competitive. I got to tell you about my favorite game to play right now. That's Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. And it's a great twist on Monopoly where you play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in all kinds of crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. The best part is you get to mess with your friends along the way. I can charge them rent on iconic properties, just like regular old Monopoly, but I can also now like heist their vaults and riches and get that all for myself. The leaderboard is constantly updating, telling us who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. The competitive person in me would tell you that I'm that person a lot of the time. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. Team sports guy as well, and you can team up with your friends and people all around the world in times tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game, and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go for free on the App Store or Google Play Store. Also want to take a moment to tell you about our buddies over at eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience are the formula for winning championships, like we're trying to build this program too. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. All the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, so I wanted to talk some in this segment about how this transfer portal thing can be flipped into a positive. There are a number of guys out there that would be great fits in Houston in this portal that may find their way to Houston. In fact, in a second, we're going to talk to a handful of people across various Locked On shows that have people in the portal that I specifically think would fit in particularly well in Houston for a number of different positions. Now, this is not the extensive end-all be-all list. There are obviously a lot more kids in the portal and a lot more kids that would fit in great at Houston. But I do think this set of kids is particularly intriguing, interesting. I'll let the other Locked On hosts tell you who they are for themselves, but listen up, because each of these guys could help Houston a lot if we can get them.
Florida State is losing Greedy Vance to the transfer portal. The 5'11" and 170-pound nickelback is going to be missed in Tallahassee. So what's the next team that gets Greedy going to get? First off, this is a player that can play nickel, arguably the most difficult position on a defense to play, because he's physical enough to go against bigger receivers and tight ends, and he's still talented enough to deflect passes and get interceptions. Last season, Vance only gave up 40.7% of the passes thrown at him to be completed. So he's going to be a graduate player at the next school, and he's going to bring a lot of value because of his experience and his overall skill.
Arkansas State Red Wolves defensive end Kieran Crawford hits a transfer portal. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Tough loss for the Red Wolves as up-and-coming edge rusher Kieran Crawford has decided to leave Arkansas State. It's a special story. Kid did not play high school football until his senior year. He was a high school basketball player, very athletic at 6'4", 235 pounds. He's added about 10 pounds since playing football. Played in 10 ball games as a freshman, had 1 sack, played in all 13 ball games as a sophomore, and had 6.5 sacks. He was recruited out of high school at places like Iowa and Nebraska, has a ton of potential, but not a ton of experience. Do not be surprised if he does find his way into a Power 5 school this fall.
Auburn edge Brenton Williams has entered the transfer portal. I'm Zach Blackerby, the host of Locked On Auburn. Brenton Williams was a kid who was originally committed to Coastal Carolina, then flipped to Auburn as soon as the Tigers started recruiting him. And I think he could be a solid number 2 potential pass rusher, edge defender for whatever school he ends up going to, especially if it's a Sun Belt level school or somebody that maybe just kind of needs more depth on the defensive front. think he'd be a solid player. I don't think he could be a great player. I don't think he's a guy that you have to have on the field on third down situations, but I think he can provide depth, and he's got 4 years left of eligibility. Whoever Brenton Williams, whatever team he joins, I think he could be a solid addition during this transfer portal window. For all of your transfer portal news regarding the Auburn Tigers, be sure to check out Locked On Auburn.
Nigel Kelly has hit the transfer portal. I am Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. Kelly has been with the Miami Hurricanes for the past 2 seasons, was a former 4-star recruit. He's a 6'5", 250-pound edge rusher who's really been building up quality size. Now, for Kelly at Miami, he showed a lot of promise in 2022 as a true freshman, recorded 4.5 sacks that season, was really expected to have a big second season in 2023. Unfortunately, his season ended early due to injury. I'm not sure how far away he is from being fully healthy again, but Nigel Kelly's next team is getting a player with elite bend, excellent pass rushing moves, and someone who's had the privilege for the last couple of seasons of learning under Miami Hurricanes defensive line coach, former Miami Dolphins superstar and Pro Football Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, who really likes Kelly. And I think Kelly's next team is going to like him a lot.
The transfer portal exodus for Colorado continues as outside linebacker Kari Mans has decided to enter his name into the college football transfer portal. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about one Mr. Kari Mans. As a recruit, he was actually unranked by 24/7 Sports. The New Rochelle, New York native was a member of the 2020 COVID class and started his career at Maine, where he spent 2 seasons with the Black Bears. This past season, 2022, was the best season of his career. He had 39 total tackles, 32 assist tackles, 7 solo tackles, 3 sacks, and also forced a fumble. In Boulder, he recorded just 9 total tackles with 3 assist tackles and 1 sack. He didn't really quite have the impact that Colorado was hoping and one that he wasn't hoping, but he does offer someone that has some linebacking experience and could provide some rotational depth. Every team in college football wants depth at every position, and if your program needs some depth at outside linebacker, he has the size and the raw potential to provide just that for your favorite team. If you want him to be a starting caliber player, you're likely talking about a Group of 5 or FCS program. He didn't improve enough at the Power 5 level to warrant starting to contention talk at a Power 5 program, but that doesn't mean he can't come in and make an impact for your team.
Joshua Harris has entered the transfer portal. Hi, I'm Stephen Willis with Locked On Ole Miss. Josh Harris is a mountain of a man that played a little last season for Ole Miss. The former 4-star recruit was brought in to play as a true 3-4 nose guard before Pete Golding was named defensive coordinator. And once Walter Nolan came in, kind of became surplus to requirements. His new team will be getting a true 3-4 nose guard that is really good versus the run and is hard to move off the line of scrimmage. A player that will play all out when he is on the field.
TCU defensive tackle Dominic Williams is in the transfer portal. I'm Steven Simcox, host of Locked On Horned Frogs. Dominic Williams is a big-time impact player. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school. He's originally from California. He was one of the first commitments that Sonny Dykes got when he moved over from SMU and took the job at TCU, and he's been a massive part of the TCU defense for the past 2 seasons. Really good size for your prototypical interior defensive lineman, 6'2", 320 pounds. He's made every start. He started as a true freshman, game 1 against Colorado in the season opener. He was in the middle for the Frogs, and he had been in the middle of that defense ever since. Very good at stopping the run, great at the point of attack. He was a freshman All-American in 2022. Last season, he was an all-conference player. From a numbers perspective, he had 3 sacks in 2023, a sack and a half in 2022, 33 total tackles in 2023, and 27 in 2022. But what Dominic does so well is he takes on double teams. He allows linebackers and other players to float the ball. He's a big interior presence that can also pressure the quarterback and make an impact. I think he's been the best player on the TCU defense for the past 2 seasons.
Colorado defensive lineman Chaz Wallace has decided to enter his name into the college football transfer portal. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chaz Wallace and what your team could be getting in him. First of all, he's very experienced, has over 30 games of college football under his belt. He started his career at Old Dominion as a 3-star recruit, was recruited out of Maryland, the number 2,080th recruit in the country, 154th defensive tackle, and 54th best player in the state of Maryland. He picked Old Dominion over James Madison, where he was heavily favored to go, and he was quite productive there. He had 56 total tackles, 5.5 tackles for a loss, and 4 total sacks. At Colorado, he didn't have the same kind of impact. He was more of a rotational piece. While he did play in all 10 games, he recorded just 10 total tackles, 1.5 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks. I think his best fit is probably at a group of 5 program where he could either start, or another Power 5 program where he could add depth to your defensive line. Chaz Wallace is a name to look out for from Colorado. He spent just 1 year in Boulder, and now he's looking for another opportunity to finish out his college football career. Colorado safety Miles Slusher has decided to enter his name into the college football transfer portal. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about what your team could possibly be getting in Miles Slusher. Prior to joining the Colorado Buffaloes in 2023, he spent 3 seasons at Arkansas, where he played quite a bit. He had 15 starts, recorded 93 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, and also grabbed 2 picks. His time in Arkansas ended in a weird fashion, but he came to Colorado as someone who was expected to be a starter, expected to be a key player on the defense, and he was that for the first game. He made the game-winning tackle against TCU, but due to injuries, he only played in 3 games the rest of the season and finished the year with 17 tackles and 1 sack. He's a former 4-star recruit that ranked as the 121st player in the country, number 8 safety in the country, and the number 2 player in the state of Oklahoma as a recruit out of Broken Arrow. So now that he's back in the portal, he should command quite the market. He should draw interest from some Power 5 programs. He's a starting caliber player, really savvy player, and realistically just needs to stay healthy to have an impact for your team.
All right, before we go too far and talk about the Forever Coogs, I want to talk to you about our buddies at Game Time, because if you're looking for tickets to the basketball tournament or anything else going on around Houston, the Game Time app is the best place to get those tickets. Now, I know I enjoy being able to see exactly what the view is going to look like from my seat. I can scan out kind of what the section and row and click on the seats, and it gives me exactly what the view is in that arena, in that venue, at those types of events. I can also give them roughly a section and row, and they'll pick the seat for me and get an average of 18% savings. They have tickets to everything: music, theater shows, comedy shows, sports, basketball, baseball, whatever's going on, they've got it. So make sure you go check out and download the Game Time app today. They got last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing, all these different things to make it the best ticket buying experience for you. If you want to take my word for it, trust me on this one. I promise you're going to not regret this. Go to download the Game Time app today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, now I mentioned I want to end the episode on a positive note, and I know that that's typically basketball for the Houston Cougars athletic department, and for a good reason. Samson's built up this positive culture, this blue blood in the making in Houston. But I do want to point out that the alumni of the Houston program are playing in the basketball tournament this summer. We talked about it back when it happened, and now we kind of see more of a roster filling out. And I think you'll see that Houston, after a couple of additions they made on Thursday, has built up quite a talented roster. Now, if you don't remember the basketball tournament is a summertime tournament that people kind of join together based on some sort of commonality. It's like a D3 team. There's a former Ivy League team. There's, a bunch of different schools will send alumni or whatever. And they basically play, it's similar to NBA level basketball. It's usually guys that aren't quite there or whatever. But they have like the Elam ending at the end and kind of different quirks of the game. And it's not silly quirks, but like just kind of a little bit different gameplay. And they play a tournament. And then at the end of the tournament, the winning team splits $1 million amongst the people on the team. So you kind of balance building depth while also like not wanting to split that million too many different ways, right? And all of those kinds of things. The Houston Cougars alumni team is officially called Forever Coogs. And Rob Gray had a big part to play in building this. So shouts to Rob for doing that. Rob obviously is on the team. He is currently playing professionally in Spain. If you're looking for him, you're going to notice across the board here some really talented guys that had shots in the G League and the NBA, a lot like Rob himself did, right? right out of school after being the prolific scorer that he was at Houston. Rob spent a couple years playing for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants in the NBA G League before heading over to Europe. Again, he's currently in Spain. Next to him in the back will be Dejan Giro, Ladiki, currently playing in Memphis, and actually playing in Memphis with the injuries they got. He was on their Memphis Hustle G League team, but with a handful of injuries on the Grizzlies. He got called up in that two-way and then also signed a couple of 10-day contracts near the end of the season. Played a lot of time in the NBA just this past spring. I guess I said this past spring. Well, the NBA regular season just ended, right? Joining the both of them will be the Godfather himself, Galen Robinson Jr. Galen plays the Birmingham Squadron, the G League team associated with the New Orleans Pelicans. He's had some time with the Austin affiliate of the Spurs, played some in Europe as well. Right now, he's in the G, playing fairly well while he's over there, I would point out. Other guard in the program is Kyler Edwards. Kyler has actually played in the basketball tournament before with a Texas Tech team. He transferred to Houston from Tech, remember, right? He is currently, as far as his profession goes, playing with the Long Island Nets. Played, I think, 2 seasons with the Motor City Cruise, the Detroit affiliate. The Long Island Nets or the Brooklyn Nets affiliate. Damian Dotson kind of starts our forward depth chart here. Currently playing in China, but he was in the NBA and played a little bit in the G League between 2017 and 2022. Damian Dotson played a lot more with the Cavs, played a little bit with the Knicks early in his career, played some with the Westchester, their G League affiliate. But a good stretch there with the Cavs, kind of as they were building the team that they're at right now. Ultimately got kind of traded around back in the G League with Austin before heading over to China where he's playing right now. Fabian White joined the roster just Thursday. Fabian played with the South Bay Lakers for a season before bouncing over to play for the Metropolitan 92s. If that program in France sounds familiar, that's because that's where Victor Wembanyama was playing before coming to the NBA. And then Devin Davis, probably the biggest throwback of the bunch here. I didn't know he'd be out here to play this. I didn't realize he was still playing. He played briefly with the Lakeland Magic, the Orlando Magic affiliate, before heading over to Europe and overseas. Currently, he plays in an Italian league, and man, I cannot think of a better life than playing professional basketball in Italy, living in Italy, doing all the fun things. He's been over there for a couple years now. So shouts to Devin Davis for that. But this conglomeration of 7 Houston Cougars is building quite an impressive team for the basketball tournament. You got scoring, you got defense, you got length, you got athleticism. Frankly, there's only a couple things you might add, like some size to get a true center if you came across a true center. But truthfully, I think Fabian and Devin can kind of handle their own down low. I'm excited to see what this team looks like this summer. It'll be some nostalgic kind of vibes, right? With guys like Rob Gray and Galen Robinson, but also just some Cougar pride in watching alumni play back together. Guys that maybe didn't necessarily even get to play together, playing together and representing Houston with Forever Coogs across their chest. Again, the basketball tournament is this summer happening in. You can get pre-sale tickets at thetournament.com, but they also the games are from July 19th to August 4th. The tournament will be hosted in Houston again starting July 19th. You can get tickets at thetournament.com to go watch the Houston Cougars. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm stoked. I can't wait to go see Rob Gray play alongside Kyler Edwards, alongside Galen Robinson, Fabian White at the forward. This is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Talk about a lot of different things today. If you're having a lot of fun, tell me in the comments down below. If you're not having a lot of fun, also tell me in the comments down below, I guess. Thank you all so much for being Locked on Cougs, your daily first listen daily. I said that backwards. Locked on Cougs is a proud member of Locked on Podcast Network. There's your team, our Houston Cougars, and our Forever Coogs each and every day. Go Cougs.